I'm going to label this the DEI, CBS DEI firing. So I want to play this clip of this young man. He went viral talking about how he believed he was fired because he was black from CBS.
I just got laid off from my job at CBS, and every producer on my team who got laid off is a person of color. Every person who gets to stay and will be relocated within the company is a white person. Now, in my meeting with the executive who told me I was getting laid off, I specifically asked him if it was a consideration for us to be relocated somewhere else within the company, and he said that we advocated to keep the show. We advocated to try to get you relocated somewhere, and we couldn't. Because I asked him, why are you the person who is making this decision or delivering the news that we're being laid off? And he said, oh, it could have been anyone. Only to later find out, because it wasn't until I went downstairs thinking that me and all of my colleagues had been laid off, that I found out that it was only the people of color. So I went one by one to my white colleagues. Are you getting laid off? No. 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 So I went back up to his office and I told him, I think you lied to my face. And come to find out, it was not his decision to eliminate the show that I work for. But he did get to decide who got to stay. I told him, you said that you couldn't get us relocated, only to find out that you were able to get some people relocated and they all happen to be white. Am I supposed to believe that that's a coincidence? And he said, yes, I'm supposed to believe that's a coincidence. I said, do you believe that's a coincidence? He said, I do, because I chose to keep the people who I had worked with before. So mind you, not only is it not based on merit, it is in its result racist. I don't care if you decided to keep people who had purple colored hair. You deciding to keep people who you had worked with before, which don't even know if that's true. If the outcome of that decision is racist, the action was racist, that shit is fucked.
So I wanted to get, well,
my reaction to that, yeah, he's probably right. I would say this. I have worked many jobs over the last 60, 65 years, let's say. And the most truly racist place I've ever worked, the worst when it comes to racism and bigotry, is Hollywood. The absolute worst. And I'm not surprised. Before they made me a co-producer on my show, I was the shop steward for AFTRA. And I saw it a lot. My show, we had close on to 100 people, more than 100 people that worked on it. And very few of them were African American or black. It was noticeable. And I know I had to put my foot down, and I quit a few times. They came begging to get me back. But it was kind of, excuse me, you sent a 23-year-old who finished a year and a half of junior college over here to tell me, and I'm in my mid-50s, and I've been a real judge, I've been a lawyer, I went to UCLA Law School right down the road, and you're going to tell her to tell me that she's going to decide what I rule on? You can go straight to hell. It ain't going to happen like that. And, you know.
So do you think he has a lawsuit?
He might. But Title VII and EEOC have been so gutted under previous administrations that I don't know if they'll be able to handle it. And they've made dealing with those kind of actions so cripplingly expensive that what used to be just isn't anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, so many black folk get caught all up into all of their reality is based on what they see produced out of Hollywood, but some of it is the most insidiously racist stuff you'll ever see.
Well,
If I can give just an example, the biggest box office for any superhero movie, the biggest of all time, was for Black Panther. The biggest box office in the United States came out of Memphis at a movie theater called the Paradiso, and it was because of black patrons all across the country. And that movie had so much that was poisonous to black people in it that you saw black people cheering. It was a disgrace and it was a disappointment to see the ignorance and what had happened with being subjected to that kind of dysfunctional propaganda for a half century.
Right. Well,
So that is the funny thing about it. Several times Hollywood has been close to being bankrupt, but they found ways to save themselves by coming up with a movie that was carefully crafted to appeal to black folk, but they always took the moment to put something negative in there. The reason that they came up with Black Panther is interesting. It was Marvel. Marvel is Walt Disney. Walt Disney was hooked up with ABC, and in 2011, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that Disney and ABC were liable to the production effort known as So You Want to Be a Millionaire to the tune of $570-some million. In the interim, that ramped up $1.25 billion, and Hollywood just doesn't have that much cash on hand because a lot of what they do is reciprocity, lines of credit, et cetera, et cetera. So in order to keep Disney properties from being sold and ABC properties from being foreclosed upon, they came up with Black Panther to deliver the cash flow to pay down some of the interest as per an agreement with the courts. So black people again bailed a major Hollywood entity out of a bankrupt situation. That was how blaxploitation got started 55 years ago, was to bail Hollywood out of a bankrupt situation that was brought about by color TV.
Okay,
so we don't get it.
I need to swing it back to this because
that's what I'm saying. It's a racist, sick cesspool, but some places are even lower than the bottom of the cesspool. There's sumps in the cesspool. And that's what too much of ethnic United States of America guides itself on. And that's from an entity that basically hates it and looks upon them as subservient, secondary, inferior people.
So I want to play this other clip because Gayle King, who works for CBS, the morning show, she's one of the hosts. There's been speculation that she's going to be fired or / let go. So I want to play this clip.
Hi, good morning, Miss King. Nice to see you. How are you? So
good to see you.
It was very, very shocking to see those reports yesterday. We're all wondering if you might be going in another direction. Do you have an answer as of yet?
No, all I can say is this. From what I'm being told inside this building, take a shot, 524 West 57th Street. All I've been told by everybody in this building is that they want me here. They like the job I'm doing. I like the job I'm doing. I'll say this. I like the job and the people that I work with. So I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you about it. But what I'm hearing in the building is not what I'm reading in the press. And what I'm not going to do is negotiate in the media. Not doing that.
All right. Do you have an idea like what things might look like in May if the show's going in another direction?
I have no idea.
No idea.
All I know is I am here. I am here and glad to be here.
I'm happy to see them, Miss
Bye,
King.
Tiffany.
Bye. Thank you. Have a good.
So that was Gayle King. So Vanity Fair put out that Gayle King has been the face of CBS News morning show for more than a decade, is expected to depart as an anchor of the morning program next year. The negotiations are about to ensue just as Paramount is cutting ties with dozens of staffers at CBS News and hundreds of more across the larger company. So maybe this is not a race thing.
Viacom, CBS, and Paramount are some of the biggest crooks you'll find anywhere in the nation. They routinely engage in insider trading, market manipulation. They steal from the talent. They are always misappropriating funds, violating contracts, and what they usually do is they just offer the person a deal that they typically renege upon if he or she does not press the issue. The problem is it takes time and it takes the right kind of law office in order to oppose what they do. Now, they are crooked. I've dealt with them. I've caught some of their executives in criminal enterprises. They're no longer with them. I've seen some of the evil that they are up to. They sit on leather sofas in 5-star hotel bars, and they giggle as they're drinking wine and bragging about how they stabbed each other in the back. And the things they do that they routinely expect others to try to do to them because they're done in return would usually get somebody with broken kneecaps or arms or worse in the real world. Imagine, if you can, a group of people who aren't just into things for money, but are into things for agendas, and that is an important thing. They are trying to push the rainbow as hard as they can, and in ways that most people wouldn't recognize until they really thought about it. They don't care. They steal, they lie, they are dishonest, and they make it very difficult for anybody to go against them. They get fired, and 3 days later they get hired at another job for more money, doing the same thing just as ineptly as they've all done. You sit down with a meeting and there's the CEO, the second existence, and whatever. And 3 years ago, the CEO was subordinate to somebody that's now his assistant, and they're all been sleeping in the same bed with each other, literally and figuratively. And it's not about money. It's about what they're doing and a lifestyle that they're trying to deal with, and they're inefficient, and they've run out of money. The secret is up until about 25 years ago, West Germany was funding a lot of what Hollywood did. But about 25 years ago, they wised up 10 years after the wall came down and decided to put that money and that effort into themselves. So Hollywood had to find a new way. And then there was the change in the media, and they run scared. So they cheat, lie, and they steal a lot. I worked for them, I know.
Thank you, executive. He says in Super Chat, I'm in New York City. He came out of nowhere, just like AOC. Congestion pricing was already put in place by the governor this year. It affects Uber prices as well. Young liberals love his exaggerated promises. Talking about Zohan Mandandi. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that. And that's
you remember the comedy character in that stupid movie they did two of? Zohan.
No, I told you, that's your generation.
No, it's not that long ago. You can still catch it on cable.
Okay.
It's a clown show type thing.
So thank you, Tony. She says, Dana, when you are under surveillance, it's frustrating as heck. You will never understand. Well, honey, are you under surveillance because you claim you get only $1,400 a month in your Social Security and you only qualify for $25 in food stamps? So how would you know that it's frustrating? And because I am associated with someone who has been under surveillance, that makes me under surveillance by proxy. Thank you.
Well,
Kai.
let me make one comment on that. About 4 years ago on New Year's Eve, they were going to drop the ball in Times Square, but there had apparently been some advisement that there was a suspicion that terroristic activity would occur. They were talking to this NYPD police captain, and the people on air were asking him, "Aren't you worried about this?" He said, "Well, we know 85% of the crowd by name, maybe 90%. So how do you do that?" He said, "Well, we're collaborating with Facebook on their facial recognition algorithms, and 95% of the American adult public is subject to being recognized by facial recognition algorithms. So we know just about everybody in the crowd by name." He said, "All of these people, yeah, we know 90 some percent. We can identify 90% of the crowd by name just off of facial recognition algorithms." So that's what they have done with the American system, because everybody wants to instantaneously share what they've done, and nobody understands privacy anymore. But it's something we've given up that will be much to our detriment if the wrong people get their hands on it. And I assure you, it's not Donald Trump at all. It's the people that are complaining about he might that really are.
Land the plane. Thank you. Voodoo says, meanwhile, Elon getting billions in welfare. He sure is, because billionaires love to get them government contracts and
Oh,
grants.
yeah. But look what he's doing.